Have you ever met someone and, for no clear reason, felt instantly irritated by them? Nothing rude was said. No rule was broken. Yet something about their presence rubbed you the wrong way. For some people, that reaction happens almost immediately when they meet an INFP. It's subtle, quiet, hard to explain, but it's real. INFPs are often described as kind, idealistic, empathetic, and deeply moral. So why would anyone dislike them right away? Why does this personality type inspire such strong affection in some people and immediate resistance in others? Today we're pulling back the curtain on that paradox. Not to attack INFPs. Not to flatter them either. But to explain the psychological friction that happens when their inner world collides with the expectations of others. And if this resonates, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this channel dives deep into the hidden psychology behind everyday human behavior. The first reason some people instinctively distrust INFPs is because they are difficult to read, and humans are wired to fear what they cannot quickly categorize. INFPs live primarily in their inner world. They observe more than they speak. They pause before reacting. Their expressions don't always match the emotional intensity happening inside them. To someone who relies on quick emotional cues and obvious signals, this can feel unsettling. The INFP might be calm on the outside while processing something profound internally. That mismatch creates suspicion. People start wondering what the INFP is really thinking. Are they judging me? Are they bored? Are they hiding something? The truth is often much simpler. INFPs are reflecting, not scheming. But to a world that values immediacy, their inward focus can feel like secrecy. And secrecy, even when unintentional, triggers mistrust. This mistrust deepens because INFPs tend to approach reality through meaning rather than practicality. They are less interested in what works and more interested in what feels right. In group settings, this can frustrate people who prioritize efficiency, deadlines, or tangible outcomes. When an INFP questions the emotional or ethical implications of a plan, others may interpret it as resistance or impracticality. They may think the INFP is unreliable or disconnected from reality. In truth, the INFP is often asking a deeper question: does this align with my values? But in environments driven by speed and results, that question can sound like hesitation, and hesitation is often mistaken for incompetence or avoidance. Another reason some people dislike INFPs almost immediately is their relationship with follow-through. INFPs are vision-driven. They are fueled by inspiration, ideas, and emotional resonance. Starting something excites them because beginnings are full of possibility. But maintaining momentum requires structure, repetition, and pressure, which drains them. When an INFP loses emotional connection to a task, their energy collapses. From the outside, this looks like flakiness. Teachers may label them as unfocused. Managers may see them as unreliable. Family members may think they are lazy or careless. What's actually happening is internal burnout. The INFP's imagination keeps pulling them toward what could be, while the present task feels lifeless. People who value consistency above creativity often find this maddening, and that frustration can quickly turn into dislike. Pressure intensifies this reaction. INFPs struggle in environments where urgency is enforced through fear, deadlines, or constant oversight. Under pressure, their cognitive functions narrow instead of sharpen. They become slower, quieter, and more internally withdrawn. To others, this can look like resistance or defiance. Why aren't they moving faster? Why don't they speak up? Why don't they just push through? But pressure disconnects INFPs from their internal compass. Without meaning, their motivation disappears. People who thrive under stress often project their own coping style onto others. When the INFP doesn't respond the same way, they are judged harshly. One of the most emotionally charged reasons people end up hating INFPs is how they disappear from relationships. INFPs love deeply and invest quietly. They listen, support, empathize, and absorb the emotions of others, often without setting boundaries. Over time, this emotional labor accumulates. If the relationship becomes repeatedly hurtful, dismissive, or disrespectful, the INFP reaches a breaking point. And when that point is reached, they don't argue. They don't negotiate. They leave. Sometimes without explanation. Sometimes with a soft goodbye that doesn't reveal the depth of the damage. To the person left behind, this feels like betrayal. How could someone so caring just vanish? But from the INFP's perspective, the departure is self-preservation. They endured silently for too long. The sudden cutoff isn't impulsive. It's the result of prolonged inner conflict. Unfortunately, because the warning signs were internal, others feel blindsided and resentful. This pattern creates a reputation problem. People who have been cut off by an INFP often retell the story from their own perspective. The INFP becomes the villain who disappeared, who couldn't communicate, who gave up. Rarely do others see the years of quiet endurance that came before the exit. As these stories circulate, new people approach INFPs with preconceived distrust. They expect emotional volatility or sudden withdrawal, and that expectation alone can poison a relationship before it begins. Another source of instant dislike is how slow INFPs are to reveal themselves. They are deeply private, not because they don't care, but because their inner world is sacred to them. Sharing personal struggles requires safety, trust, and emotional resonance. If an INFP has been mocked, dismissed, or misunderstood in the past, they become even more guarded. To others, this can feel like emotional distance or superiority. People may assume the INFP doesn't trust them or doesn't value the relationship enough to open up. In reality, the INFP is protecting something fragile. Their values, dreams, and wounds are not casual topics. But in cultures that equate openness with authenticity, this reserve can be misread as coldness or emotional withholding. This misunderstanding is amplified because INFPs are often excellent listeners. They ask thoughtful questions. They remember details. They hold space for others. Over time, this creates an imbalance. People share more than they receive. Eventually, they notice that they know very little about the INFP in return. That realization can trigger insecurity. Why do they know me so well when I barely know them? What are they hiding? The truth is, the INFP didn't hide. They simply weren't invited in the right way. They opened through connection, not interrogation. INFPs also unintentionally trigger discomfort because they mirror emotional truths others avoid. Their sensitivity allows them to notice inconsistencies between what people say and what they feel. They may gently question a choice, express concern, or withdraw when something feels off. To someone not ready for self-reflection, this feels like judgment. Even when the INFP says nothing, their emotional awareness can make others feel exposed. People don't always hate INFPs for what they do. Sometimes they hate them for what they reflect. There's also the issue of idealism. INFPs believe in how things should be, not just how they are. They care about fairness, authenticity, and moral alignment. In systems built on compromise and pragmatism, this can be threatening. When an INFP refuses to cut corners or participate in something that violates their values, others may see them as unrealistic or self-righteous. The INFP isn't trying to be superior. They are trying to stay internally congruent. But for people who've learned to survive by bending their values, the INFP's quiet integrity can feel like a personal attack. Over time, these small frictions accumulate. The silence, the unfinished projects, the sudden exits, the guarded heart, the moral stance. None of these traits are malicious. But in a fast, extroverted, results-driven world, they clash with dominant expectations. And when people don't understand a behavior, they often default to dislike rather than curiosity. Ironically, the same traits that trigger instant dislike are the ones that inspire deep loyalty once understood. When people take the time to know an INFP, they often discover unwavering compassion, profound insight, and rare emotional honesty. But first impressions are powerful. And INFPs don't perform well in environments that reward loudness, speed, or surface-level connection. If you're an INFP watching this, understand that being misunderstood does not mean being broken. Your depth is not a flaw. Your pace is not a failure. And your boundaries are not cruelty. If you're someone who has disliked an INFP instantly, consider this an invitation to pause. What you interpreted as distance may have been depth. What you labeled as inconsistency may have been burnout. And what felt like rejection may have been quiet self-rescue. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced this dynamic from either side? And if you want more deep psychological breakdowns like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.